Welcome to Indy's Real Estate Gurus. We are recording today from the beautiful studio right here in Advisors Mortgage Group in beautiful downtown Carmel. And I'm Rick Rittman, your hardworking mortgage guy. I've been in the mortgage business and the real estate business for 34 years. I've helped over 5,200 folks get the very best mortgage they could. We believe that in the custom tailored approach, not the one size fits all mortgage, which you'll find at a lot of places. And we also believe that there is a right mortgage for you, and we are the team to deliver it.
And I'm Ian Arnold, part of Rick's hardworking mortgage team. I've been in the financial industry for over 15 years, helping people do their credit, rebuild their credit, or even move their credit a little higher just to get the better interest rates. And I have a passion in helping you secure your financial wealth for the future for you, your kids, and your whole family.
Yep. And if you have any questions on anything real estate related here in Indiana or mortgage related, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com or 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938. And Ian and I would be more than happy to answer your questions. And now we're going to talk with one of the main, a huge guru here in Indiana, Brad Baxter. And Brad is with
Carpenter Realtors.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for joining us, Brad. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And it sounded like Brad was he was going to be on this huge panel and everything else, but he chose to be right here with us.
The best place to be.
I want to give Rick a gold star. You're probably the first one, maybe first couple that he said the name correctly.
Nice. It's easy enough.
Well, yeah, usually I mispronounce my own name, so there you go. I mean, that's just how it is. I don't know why. So, it's weird because sometimes it's very easy names, and I know the name, but then I go to do it, and I don't know what happens. But anyway, so how did you get into real estate? What drove you into this industry?
Well, I'm a son of a broker, so my mom had a real estate license. That's not really why I got into the business, but I was in the corporate world, graduated from Indiana University in 88, and didn't even know what I was going to do, but I took a sales role. And so I've been in sales my whole career. But as I rose the ranks of the corporate world, I was traveling all the time. So I was on a plane every week, 3 or 4 nights a week out of town. And we started to have kids and realized that I didn't want to be the dad that was always gone. And by the time my kids were 20, 30, they didn't know me. And so I stopped into a real estate broker's office one day for lunch or during lunch. And I said, "Hey, tell me about the day in the life of a real estate broker." And I have a very, very, very supportive wife. So I went home, told her that I am going to quit my corporate job. I was a pretty high level manager at the time, making a good salary. And I took the accelerated real estate course in 2 weeks and went straight commission. Sent her back to work for health insurance benefits.
And so how did you get going? Because I know when you make that transition and you had obviously some motivation, you needed to get going right away.
Right.
How did you get your business going right away?
Yeah. So this was in 2004. And honestly, I think if it didn't happen the way it did, I probably had that safety net behind me. I was selling software. I worked for a pretty big software company at the time, and I was well recruited in that industry. So, yes, I knew I had a safety net that, if this didn't work out, I could jump back. But I also recruit a lot of people into the business. And I'm like, look, I'm not telling you this from the outside. I actually did it. I jumped in feet first in the deep end, and it was either going to work or it wasn't. So being that I, quit my corporate job, and this was straight commission, I went in every day like it was a job, and I wanted it to work. So then I started with a local brokerage for about 1.5 years, and then I bought my own brokerage with 2 business partners in November of 2006. That was a 10-year commitment to this franchise agreement, and the market, as you know, crashed in 2007, 8, 9. And I was like, what did I do? But at that point, I was invested. I'm not a quitter. I was determined that regardless of the market, I was going to make this work. So I did that for 10 years and then sold my franchise to Carpenter Realtors, where I am now.
Okay. Yeah. So when you hit that market, we all remember that market.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And and everything kind of went away, but you still had to stay afloat. So how did you get business during that time? What did you do?
Yeah, I think for those of us that have been around in multiple types of markets, just like the fear that people have right now with this changing market, right? Control the things you can control, but understand we can't control everything, and let go of those that you can't, and change and adapt with whatever's happening. So I remember back then when, everyone was like, okay, these short sales started coming into play. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to do a short sale. I'm going to pass it on to somebody else, let them do it. Well, then all my clients, not all my clients, but all categories of the market there were short sales. So I
Yes.
eventually became a short sale certified specialist. Not because I wanted to, but because I was adapting to what people needed in the market. And if somebody was losing their house at the time, what I learned really quick, because coming from the corporate world, I didn't realize how emotional this business is.
Right.
And I didn't realize how much of a counselor or a consultant or a therapist we are in this position. And that's what I love about this career. And so I was helping people in a very, very difficult situation. They didn't want to tell anybody that they were in this situation, let alone me as a real estate broker. But if I could help them sell their house and understand that I wasn't there to judge them, I was there to help them, then I was the one I wanted to be there to do that. And that's very rewarding in this role, to help people through big life events.
Yeah. And, people have to understand that life happens.
Oh, yeah.
And we understand that because we see it every day. Right.
Mhm.
And it's just what happens. And back then it was what happened in our economy that created all that. It
Mhm.
wasn't that these weren't bad people or
No.
anything else, but you get transferred somewhere. Just as an example, you get transferred and you buy a house, and then your job goes away, or you get transferred again and your house is worth $50,000 less than more than what you owe on it.
Mhm.
What do you do?
Mhm. Find somebody you trust to help you through the process.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Mhm.
You got to get a good agent who can work with both sides, because that's the other problem. The short sales can go very smoothly, or they can take, I've had some of them take 2-3 years when you're
Mhm.
trying to finance them.
Mhm.
And it's all in how I think the lender, the bank that is foreclosing, how they work. Is that what you found?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you learned the process as we went through it and understood how to send over. Gosh, were we faxing documents back then?
Yeah, we
I
were.
think we were. Ian doesn't remember that, but yeah, we were like literally had to fax 70 pages numbered, and each bank worked different. But yeah, and you had to be patient and
Yes.
wait through the process. Mhm.
So, what was the difference between that and what we just went through like 2 years ago?
2 years ago when COVID hit and the market went crazy.
Yeah.
Each market, that's what I tell people, like, don't stress that the market's changing. Just figure out how you're going to change with the market, right? So when everyone said, oh my gosh, we're going into isolation, everything's closing down, and people were saying, hey, can I see this house today? I'm like, what? So, we put on our rubber gloves and our mask and our hazmat suit and don't touch anything. And, we'll go look. And, yeah, it was a crazy market, right? The main thing you had to do, you had to be available. You had to be available when the world wasn't really available.
Right.
And it was weird seeing a lot of my friends go through, with different careers, have some major challenges during that time. And I was like, gosh, real estate's booming right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And it was, do you remember the closings?
Oh, yeah.
You'd sit
In
in
the
their
car. Yeah. Yeah. You can't come in. And yeah, it was crazy. But we sold a lot of houses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was almost the exact opposite when you got into the short sales, and
Mhm.
houses depreciated and you had to
Mhm.
go through all that. But then now people are offering like tens and $50,000 over asking price
Right.
just for a home.
Right.
And it's like, well, so that had to be a big pendulum swing
Yeah.
in what you're used to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy in this market where, used to Indianapolis. I was born and raised in Indianapolis, so I know this market pretty well. But, we would average 3 to 5% equity over each year. And this last couple of years, I sold some people a house twice. So they'd buy a house, and then within the same 12-month period, I'd sell that house and get them another one. And the equity they were making in months was crazy. just not something we were used to in this market. But again, I think that's the value of a real estate broker that's on top of the market and active in the market. And the benefit of doing a lot of transactions is you get a lot of experience with that. So then you can say, hey, here's what this means. Here's what's going. The interest rates are 7%. Don't worry about that. There's ways, this will all work itself out.
Right.
You'll refi. Guess who will refi you in a couple months or a year? Rick and Ian.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
Don't worry about it. We'll take care of the rate, but get the house you want. Be safe, be careful. Don't overpay too bad. And don't write in contingencies that don't make sense for you.
Right.
But this will work itself out.
Yeah, I think this is one of the best times we've had to buy a house in the recent history. And here's why I think that. Mortgage rates are going to go back down, my opinion. Okay. If I'm wrong, then I may be wrong about this whole thing. But mortgage rates are likely to go, in my opinion, back down. We have a lack of inventory. We had a lack of inventory before when interest rates were low. People were paying thousands and thousands of dollars more than the person wanted for their house, more than they listed it for. They were fighting 10, 12, 15 offers. I had people who, and you probably had more than this because I didn't see as many as you did, but you'd see people, make offers on 10, 12 homes and not get them and get very depressed. Okay. Well, the lack of inventory isn't going to change, right? As rates go back down, all those people who got out of the market are going to come back in, and we're going to be in the same, maybe not as much of a buyer's market or a seller's market as we were, but I think we're going to be getting close. So I think, like you were saying, so the rate's higher than it was. Take the rate.
Right.
Okay. Because if I'm wrong and rates go up, you got a great rate. If I'm right, rates go down, you refinance.
Right.
But you got the house at a better value.
Right. Marry the house, date the rate.
Exactly.
Big thing right now.
Yes.
Yeah. But absolutely true. Yeah. I don't see the buyers, and buyers adapt, as we know. And that's the great thing about it. Right. So for a while, the brakes were put on early in the year because interest rates were climbing. Today, a lot of my buyers don't really say much about the rate. And you guys see this, right? When you quote the rate, they're saying, well, how much can I afford at that rate?
Yes.
And then we maybe adjust on that side of it. But yeah, they need to have the confidence. And that comes from the real estate brokers and the mortgage lenders to say, you're okay in doing this. You're not crazy for buying a house right now. Let's just find you the right one with best terms.
Right.
And Brad, before we go to break, how would somebody get a hold of you?
My mobile number is 317-501-3202. And my web address is bradbaxter.com.
Well, that's pretty nice and easy.
I try to make it easy.
Baxter's
Baxter.
T-E-R.
Right.
All right. So bradbaxter.com.
That's right.
That's not, I'm surprised that was still available. I would guess
there was a New York Jets player. So he pulled up in the beginning, but 20 years in the business, a lot of stuff will pull up for me. Yeah.
that's all right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Was he a good player?
Yeah, he was.
Ian would know. I wouldn't know. And if you need to get a hold of Ian or I, it's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com or 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938.
All right. Well, after the break, we'll find out what is Brad's superpower. All right. Hey, welcome back from the break. And before we get into what is Brad's superpower, it is time for Question of the Week. The question of the week is sponsored by, Rick and I, the Hardworking Mortgage Guys, where we believe in helping and supporting you and your realtor by sending constant updates on your loan through the whole entire process. Contact us today at hardworkingmortgageguys.com. So, Brad, here's the hardest question.
Okay.
What was your first car?
1974. It's dating, right? This dates ourselves. But 1974 Mustang Mach 2.
Ooh.
302 V8. What was my parents thinking? Yeah. So I was obviously blessed with the fact that I have two older sisters, and somehow this car was passed down. Man, I was like 16 and got that. So I was like, wow.
Whoa. That car survived 3 kids?
Yeah. It got stolen once. Thankfully, the cops found it. So I had it when I was 16. But yeah, I love that car.
Yeah, I bet you'd like that one back.
That would be fun. Yeah.
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 There's always cars you want back. That for me, that's always
that was a no-brainer. Yep, I'd
That was
take
a
that all
Mach
day
1.
long. Mach 2.
Mach 2, what color?
It was beige. The color wasn't the best, but yeah, car was amazing.
Yeah, it's all that's a great car.
Yeah, carpet in the back, big speakers, loud bass, and FM converter. Remember what those were? You
Oh,
guys don't know
yeah.
what those were?
Yeah, well, he would remember.
No.
No. He's a
8-track
kid.
CD. Yeah.
Maybe young. I still know what the stuff is.
I don't know.
Just if it makes you feel any better, my first car, the one that was handed down to me, was a 74 Gremlin.
Oh, my best friend had a Gremlin, purple.
Oh, his was purple. Mine was
Yeah.
yellow.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That was fun.
No.
Yeah, it was fun. For those that didn't own it.
Yeah. And then my parents upgraded, and I had a Pacer.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you were really rocking it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You better have a year's worth of Windex just to keep the thing clean.
Yeah.
It was terrible. So what are your powers or power? What would you say?
Yeah, when we talked about this before, that's kind of an interesting question. When I think of a superhero, I think about somebody that's there for you at the time that you need them, right? They're there to protect you, to, make you feel safe, get you out of a bad situation, which really makes sense for what I want to do for my clients, right? So I want them to know that I'm there for them. Every transaction is going to have ups and downs.
Right.
And so when they feel like it might not be going their way or they need somebody on their side, I want them to know that I'm that person. So even though I might not wear a cape when I do it, yeah, I hope that my superpower is that I'm there for them. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Somebody's going to listen to this and be like, you can be my realtor, but you must wear a cape.
And
now.
I will. Knowing me, I will do it.
I'm surprised Ian hasn't come in a cape or have one here for somebody to put on.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
I never
surprised.
reveal my secret identity.
Yeah, well, you don't wear glasses. Oh,
Yeah, he
I
does.
do.
Yeah, he's got the hair like
You
Clark
don't even-
Kent.
Yeah, he does.
I just need that little hang down curl.
They aren't the black, what didn't he wear black glasses? They weren't.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
weren't that cool. Yeah. I just think superpowers are so interesting. And it's exactly what you said is why we ask it, because it matters. What you do well matters. And it resonates with people. People hear what you do, and protecting your client is one of the best things you can. I mean, that gives you. There's lots of things involved in that, not just that you protect your client, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you said there's always things that happen in a transaction. It's weird how it goes. Some transactions have just little things go wrong.
Those are the ones you worry about.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
If they're going too smooth.
Yeah. And then there's some that it's like nothing can go right.
Right.
And that's when you really need somebody who has who's there to protect, but also you have a calming demeanor. So that's, I think, one of the other things that's very vital for a real estate agent, because there are things that go, and it's an emotional transaction, and they need that. The client needs that. They need somebody that steady force.
Yeah, I heard a long time ago, I don't remember what presentation I was at, but they used an analogy of a roller coaster ride. And they said, your clients are going to be on an emotional roller coaster ride throughout the transaction. There's going to be peaks where they're extremely excited and thrilled. And then there's going to be a couple valleys where they're freaking out, stressed, a lot of anxiety. And our job is to not get on the roller coaster with them. It's to be the guy that gets them to the end of the ride safely, which is the closing. And so I have to explain that to my clients. Look, I know you're going to be emotional high and low, and don't get frustrated. Don't think I'm not on your side if I'm not there with you, but it's not going to do the transaction any good if I bring my emotions into it.
Right.
So yeah, that's one of the skill sets I've tried to do over the years, even before real estate, was just to have kind of that calm in the storm that, figures out the solution without getting too emotional.
Yeah. So you're in the amusement park. You just aren't on the ride.
Exactly.
Well, somebody has
I
to
do
turn
like a
it
good
on
roller.
and let it go and then stop it right on
I don't
time.
think he's turning it on. I don't think that's what his superpower
Analogy was. Yeah.
is making it more stressful. Guessing. But no, it's just, to me, I just think that's such an important thing. And I think it helps the entire transaction, helps both sides, because ultimately everybody's after the same.
Yeah. We should be, right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a team. That's the way I've always looked at you. Your buyer, your seller, your agents, your lender, your title company, everybody's in this together, and
Yeah.
everybody's trying to get to the
Yeah.
finish line as smoothly and easily as possible.
Right. And when you mention that many people on a team in a transaction, it comes down to communication, right? The more we communicate with each other, I just had a transaction with you, and you did a great job of every week calling me, right? And saying, hey, here's the update. And not all lenders do that. And so I think that was a great piece that you add to it, because the more we communicate with each other, the better the transaction's going to be.
Right. That is the thing I found. It's amazing that if you just, and I know you guys had training, and Jeremy Page was telling me after the training, he goes, Rick, what they told us is if you don't, even if there's nothing to report, if you don't tell the person what's going on, in their minds, they've built up something horrible happening, right? If
Yeah.
you're not telling them, it must be bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just try to make sure that everybody knows, everybody's comfortable, and it works.
Yeah.
Right. It helps.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do notice, I think one of the biggest things that we hear is that it's a lack of communication throughout the process is always the problem. If there is,
it can be a problem. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you try to set the example, or when you first meet with somebody, about, hey, look, this is going to be a more emotional roller coaster? You set it, like the guidelines right then? Yeah.
Because then they're aware of it. You know, they've heard me say it before. Hey, this is no surprise that we're hitting a blip here, but we are going to get through it. And, you know, right now, where you mentioned earlier, people write these multiple offers, great offers that should be accepted, right? But they lose. They will find the right house. And that's what I give them confidence and comfort in, to say, look, I know you thought that was the one, but I guarantee you, whatever one we find and you close on, you're going to be thrilled. And I can't think of an example right now where that didn't work out to be true. So they just need to know that, right?
Yeah, I agree. I've got to look it up, but I can't find it. I like country music, and there was a country song, and the guy is thanking all the girls that dumped him, because without that, he wouldn't be with his wife.
Right.
And that's very much what we're talking about, right? You think that's the right house. And I've counseled people for the exact same way. And to a person, when it's all over, they go, you were right. This is
glad we didn't get
house.
that other one.
Yes.
This is the best one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what Brad actually does is, hey, good thing you didn't buy that last house. We just closed on this one. That one just got hit by a tornado. You're good.
Right. Yeah. Good thing.
Yeah.
All right. He doesn't really say that, people, in just full disclosure.
No. I don't celebrate that.
No, I don't think any of us would celebrate that. That's coming up too. So, tornado season.
Hurricane season's in August, sir.
Yes. Well, I don't know. You're from Florida. I'm from Indiana. Hurricane season here is never.
That's right. Right.
We just get the thunderstorms afterwards.
Yeah. So if somebody is looking to list their home, or maybe they're a buyer, they're looking for a real estate agent, what traits or characteristics should they look for in that agent?
Well, you know, it's easy for me to say experience because I have it, right? But I also hire new agents every year. So I have a team. I manage the Broad Ripple office. And so I have about 28 agents with me now, and hire about 5 new a year. Those that don't have the experience, what I would tell them is to say, you're with a company, you're with a team, you're with a broker that does have experience. So yeah, if you don't have it personally, at least look for the person that's backed up with a good team. Somebody that's going to be there. I mean, I know that sounds so simple, but you know, how can you be successful in real estate? Well, answer your phone, show up, respond to people, you know, do the activities that get you in front of more people. And those activities could be things you love, working out, joining a church, or, you know, whatever it is that you get passion from. Be more active in those things. It's a twofold win, right? You get to be active in something you love, but you also get to meet great people that have the same passion. And then they'll find out you're a real estate agent. They already trust you from the other thing. Yeah.
Right.
Works.
So don't be a secret agent.
No, that's the worst thing you can do.
It's a couple things on that. We had a friend who worked for me that Ian knew him also, and he loved to play golf. And he said, you know what, I just would like to play golf every day. I said, go play golf every day. But you better talk to people, because otherwise you're just going to go broke.
Yeah. I mean, they're with you for 4 or 5 hours, right? You got a captured audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, how much better could it be? You can
That's
do
right.
what you love, and you can talk to people, and it's about relationships.
Right.
Right. The other thing is mentors. You kind of hit on mentors. Did you have, or who were your mentors as you came through?
Yeah, I mean, and I still have mentors. I think a mentor really anyone that can guide you or help you grow and develop. The one thing I can say that I don't ever want to be comfortable with is to think that I'm finished with my education or training or development. I mean, I think you got to work on that all the time. So, this is a popular saying too, but surround yourself with people that are better than you, right? They'll make you a better version of yourself. So part of the reason I decided to merge my company 7 years ago with Carpenter's because of the people, right? The leadership, my management team, the agents I work with in my office, and my clients can all be mentors in different ways if I seek that, right?
Right.
So even this conversation here with you guys, I mean, to meet new people, to hear somebody else, you mentioned your coaching program. I mean, that's great to be inspired by how other people are living their lives. But yeah, I'm just open for that. I'm always looking to learn off of somebody else.
And
I have a lot of mentors.
And you're a mentor for others.
I hope to be. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, obviously you are. You have how many people on your team? What is your
28.
team? 28.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're a mentor for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
That'll keep you busy.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good busy.
Yeah, but it's really nice. You have the experience and the knowledge and all of that. So we're coming up on the break. So what is the best way for someone to get a hold of you if they have any real estate needs?
Okay, my mobile number is 317-501-3202, and my website is bradbaxter.com.
And that's probably your name, Brad Baxter.
Brad Baxter,
Man,
B-A-X-T-E-R.
It took me a long time to put that together, didn't
That's
it?
right.
And if you need to get a hold of Ian or I, it's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com, or 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938.
And if you're listening on the radio, catch the rest of the show at Indy's Real Estate Gurus. All right. Hey, Brad, thank you for staying. And you haven't ran out on us just yet, so thank you for that.
Nope, I'm enjoying it.
All right. So I do like to ask this question. What was your most memorable deal?
Oh gosh, I mean that could be a lot of different things, right? The best looking house, the easiest transaction, the worst transaction. I really think when I think of a transaction, I think of the life experience behind it, or the reason behind it. So the people, I just got to help my oldest son buy his first house.
Awesome.
And so if I think about that, was that my most memorable transaction? Well, it will be a memory for me because I think it's cool that, he got to buy his first home and he's doing a remodel on it. But I think if I think about the people and the reasons that they buy and sell, those are the best memories, right? Because you get to be part of their lives. I love it when a client's kids, they find the house and the kids say, "Oh, which room is going to be Brad's?" And you're like, "Oh, I've been with them." So now today's market's a little bit different. I used to show 20 houses, right? And in a couple of days. So we were together a long time in the car together. There's some of those things that I used to love that unfortunately we just don't do as much anymore. Now it's a quicker, one house at a time and they're buying pretty quick. But yeah, I love making those connections. So memory wise, it's the people behind it.
Yeah. Helping your kids is a big deal. I've helped two of mine buy houses, and it's very rewarding.
Oh yeah.
It's a great, and especially because of it's not just that it's your kid. I guess it is. They look at you now as in probably a different way than they've ever looked at you. You're an expert. They know you're an expert. They actually listen to you.
Right.
Do your kids listen to you?
No,
mine didn't either. I think they do, but you just don't know. But that's a very rewarding.
Yeah.
I just think that's an awesome thing to do. Did they obviously bought here in Indy?
Yeah, I was going to say one of the other benefits I had is he's only going to be about 10 minutes from us, which you never know, if your kids are going to move out of state or whatever. But we love the fact that he bought close. Yeah.
Well, and you run the Carpenter office in Broad Ripple,
right?
So Broad Ripple seems to be a little unique as a market compared. Off and on, it'll be booming, and the other markets won't. Now everybody is. What's the market like right now in Broad Ripple?
Oh, it's still, I was talking to somebody about that yesterday, that even your good or bad market, it seems like Broad Ripple will always have a draw to it, right? But there's really not a lot of other markets in town where you can buy a house, maybe it's a tear down, tear down $100,000 house and on the same street build a $400,000 or $500,000 house in its place. Just a lot of diversity in the types of houses. But it's always been a strong market. I mean, we're still obviously right now selling houses in hours in Broad Ripple.
Yeah.
We're one of the only offices that I would say that you would consider in the middle of a residential area. So a lot of offices are going to be in a commercial building or, kind of a commercial area, whereas we are literally right at 61st and College,
Right.
which is in the middle of Broad Ripple. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cool building too. I mean, when you go by it, I've been in Indianapolis my entire life. Broad Ripple, as long as I can remember, has been hot.
It is. Yeah.
Well, if you actually look at the history of Broad Ripple, so when I moved in with my dad when I was 16, we lived at Broad Ripple. Well, you lived in Broad Ripple, 71st and Keystone.
Okay.
So, and he was telling me the history, and like you can see old pictures, and you go to Broad Ripple Park, you'll see cement blocks that were made, and it was like a whole fairgrounds, and they had Ferris wheels and all this stuff. You don't realize how popular Broad Ripple was even about 50 to 100 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's always been.
Yeah.
As far as I can remember.
Yeah. And again, it changes with the times. I mean, we have newer apartment buildings, taller buildings, but to me, it hasn't taken away from the character.
Right.
Yeah.
And it has great restaurants.
Yeah.
Broad Ripple has fantastic restaurants.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
one of my favorite places to go and have dinner because there's always every restaurant down there is great.
It's good. Yeah.
And I feel safe down there. I know I hear things, but I don't. I feel very safe.
Well, at my age, we're in bed by 10. So
yeah, well, that's I guess, yeah.
But
You
we're doing the
slept
early
till 10?
dinner. Yeah, really. So I try to anyway.
Wow, you must be younger than me. So, with Broad Ripple booming, the outlying areas now, are you seeing Broad Ripple being like faster sales? A lot more activity, or
Well,
is it just
again, right now, I mean, if anyone listening to this podcast is in the market to sell a home, like you said earlier, there's really still not been a better time to sell a home. We are still getting right now, as of this week, right, multiple offers, appraisal waivers or appraisal gap coverage, inspection waivers. So the inventory is still low and the demand is still high from the buyers. So I would say in that sense, Broad Ripple is no different than any other market. If a house looks good and it's priced good, there's a demand for it, that it's going to sell. Really, we kind of dictate that now. It could sell in a couple hours, but usually we'll, ride it out a little bit to get as many offers as we can within a couple of days. But it's good everywhere.
Yeah,
and our office being centrally located, we do cover a lot of the Indianapolis Metro market. So we go into Hamilton County and, Southwest. We're central. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just like anybody. The other areas. You're just happen to be in Broad Ripple, which seems to me like a perfect place to be. And I like where your office sits because, like you said, it's in a residential area. And it still looks like a residence to a point. Obviously,
yeah.
To me, it does.
It's a freestanding building. Yep.
Yeah. It doesn't look like, some of the others. Now you said you have a big team. What do you look for when you're hiring a new team member?
Yeah. I try not to be too, I don't put a box around people because I've seen enough people in this business, that with a variety of backgrounds, some people think that you need a sales background. I had a sales and a sales management background, but we know that people with service-oriented jobs do really, really well. So teachers and service providers and firemen and, whatever the case, they can come in, and if they have a sphere and they're not afraid to tell people what they do, they can be really, really successful in this business. So when I hire somebody, I don't really look at the background as much as I look and say, can you set goals? Can you learn? Will you go out and talk to people and be comfortable with that? Will you have enough confidence to tell them that you can add value and that's why they should want to use you? If they will do those things and be willing to do the activities, then I have no other, I don't really judge that too much because I've seen so many people be successful with different backgrounds.
Yeah. What activities do you have people do?
Well, you got to talk to people.
Really? Okay.
So you cannot be a secret agent. You have to, I'm not saying everybody needs to go and knock on doors. But I am saying you have to, if we believe that we have a service. Like if I think that, you went out and bought a house and you didn't talk to me and you were a friend of mine, I'd be like, well, I wonder why they didn't think that, I would be protecting them through this process and look out for their best interests. The one thing I never do, and I try to tell my agents this, don't ever make a decision based on the dollar, right?
Right.
If you think that I'm in this transaction because I need the commission check, and I'm not saying I do it for money, obviously, right? This is a career, but I don't make my decisions based on that check. I make my decisions based on your needs as my
Right.
client. And so I want them to know that. I want them to feel that. So if I'm looking out for their best interest, why wouldn't they want to use me? So I'm not selling them on me. I'm selling them on the fact that I can help them.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know you train a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's been brought to Rick and I's attention, like 87% of realtors fail in the first 3 to 5 years.
Right.
So why such a huge turnover, do you think?
Yeah, I think people, unfortunately, there's a lot, part of that 80%, they don't want to work. You're in a straight commission career. If you don't work, nobody's handing you a paycheck every other week. And a lot of times they revert back to that safety net too quick. So if they say, well, I thought I would be getting a transaction sooner than this, I'll go back to getting a paycheck, even though they didn't like where they were before. They don't like the amount of their paycheck, but the fact is somebody is giving them a paycheck every other week. So they give up too early. But they just don't do the activities that it takes. We can train them on what to do to be successful. That doesn't mean you have to have a big sphere. It doesn't mean you have to, nag all your family and friends right away to buy a house. But it means you need to go out and talk to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Do open house. I did 2 open houses every Sunday my first year in the business.
That seems to be a consistent way to get going with almost every agent we've talked about. Is open houses are vitally important for getting going. I guess it depends on your personality. I came out of new home sales, so if I got into real estate, that's the first thing I'd have been doing. I'd have been doing as many open houses as I could.
Yeah. Why do you think new builders have model homes? Right. And so it's a passive way. You're not, I mean, you can make it active by doing the steps that, don't just show up for the open house and open the door. Don't just be a greeter.
Right.
Have a plan in place. But if I just say, hey, Sunday afternoons is going to be part of my work day, and if nobody shows up for the open house, I'm still going to get some work done, taking it with me. But in this market, a lot of people are showing up for open houses. And so, yeah, I can tell story after story of agents that met their clients at an open house and have done multiple transactions with them over the years. Yeah. Get out there and work. That's really all it takes.
I know if I were doing an open house, just not really knowing, okay, I'd get there definitely early, and I would go knock on all the houses around my around the house, and I would invite them to my open house, right? Because I know as a homeowner, everybody in the neighborhood wants to go walk through that house. They do, right? Okay, everybody. But we don't, because we don't want to bother the real estate agent. But in reality, that's really what they want. They want people coming in. Yeah. Because I may not be in the market, but I may know somebody who I'd like to have in my neighborhood. And it just seems to me, and I know that a lot of people, I mean, I wouldn't like going and knocking on everybody's door, but I'd figure it out, and that's what I do. Yeah. Yeah, we do train that. We say, go to the 8 houses across the street and 4 on each side of it. Knock on the door saying, I'm having an open house from 12 to 2 on Sunday, but for neighbors, I'm going to open it up 20 minutes early. Please come by. Number one, you're meeting another person that might want to sell their house, right? Yes. But you're also personally inviting them to say, don't feel awkward about coming to my open house. I want you to. And yeah, sometimes the seller will be like, well, we don't want the nosy neighbors coming into our house. We don't want you to do an open house because of that. I'm like, the neighbors are the ones that have invested in this area, and they want to tell people that they like about this house that's on the market. Come and be my neighbor, and so it's always good to market to the neighbors. Yes. Yeah. Plus, the neighbors can tell you, if you're a new agent, they can tell you why they love the neighborhood.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And when you're talking to somebody, you can say, yeah, Jim and Carol Smith right down here, we're just in, Jim's a great, I mean, it just makes everything better.
Right. Yeah.
I just,
and it's an activity that doesn't have to cost you any money as a new agent. And it's definitely going to open up the opportunity for you to market the open house before and meet new people. And that's what it takes stay in this business for a long time.
So a new agent, how do they get an open house? How would they?
Well, in our office, so if they don't have their own listing to hold open, then yeah, the first thing they would do is go to the agents within my office and say, hey, do you have a listing that you want held open this weekend? And a lot of people get confused. They're like, well, somebody's already doing it on Sunday from 12 to 2. I'm like, okay, then offer to do it from 2 to 4 or 1 to 3, do it a different time the same day. It doesn't matter. It could be held open all day, especially if it's a vacant house. I mean, and now we've seen a lot on Saturdays as well. But yeah, we have a big enough company with 600 agents that if there's none in my office, then I'd say, okay, well then go to one of the other offices. We'll send an email saying, hey, I'm available to do an open house for you. Now, for me as the managing broker, I'm always going to open up my listings to our newer agents and say, hey, if you need one, I got one for you.
And then what's the benefit to the homeowner to having an open house?
Well, we never know where their buyer is going to come from, right? So if they've been told in the past, hey, open houses don't work, that's what I've been told by other agents. I'm like, they probably told you that because they don't want to do an open house, right? Or they don't have the staff to do an open house. But if you're my seller and I say, okay, I will do an open house for you and I'll market it. It'll be on my website. I'll do postcard mailing. I'll do door knocking, whatever it is. So I'm going to market your home. And if I happen to find the right buyer with great terms by doing that, are you okay with that?
Okay.
You're shaking your head. Yes.
Yeah.
Of course you would be, right? I'm the one doing all the work and I'm holding it open. Now, I don't know where the right buyer is going to come from, but I've sold houses to people in an open house before that would not have looked on it based on the criteria.
Right.
Follow me? Like it was too expensive or didn't have a bedroom on the main or whatever it was. They come to the open house, they fall in love with it and they say, well, I never would have looked at this, but you had a sign out in the yard and it was open. So I stopped by.
Because we have our criteria.
Yeah.
But many times we don't follow our own criteria when we're buying something.
Right. Well, people in this business, agents get upset with buyers that change their mind. When I started in the business, people said, oh, buyers are liars. I'm like, no, they're not. They're buyers that just after looking at a few homes changed their mind.
Right.
That's okay.
Yes.
They can do that. And you just have to have the patience to work through and understand, they have the ability to change their mind. And with inventory being low, of course, they're changing their mind based on what's available to look at.
Yeah, I mean, Rick and I came from car sales prior, and it's really interesting is we have the same slogan, buyers are liars. But again, it's one of those things you could be like, oh, I want this Jeep. Then you get in and you go for a ride and you're like, man, it's a little rougher than I thought. My back's a little hurting. Well, guess what? All right, now I'm going to switch to a car. It's a little bit more luxury. So sometimes you just don't know what you want or you have a different perception. And then you walk into that house and that backyard is like half the size you thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And that's what I try to tell my buyers all the time because they're always worried they're going to bother me, right? Oh, I know you're busy. I don't want to bother you. I'm like, this is what I do 7 days a week and I love what I do. So if you want me to go show you a house and it's not the right house for you, that's one step closer to us knowing what is right for you. Right. So don't ever feel like you're bothering me. I want to show you houses because that helps you in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you looking most forward to in the future? Like through the rest of the year, maybe into next year?
I'm looking forward to my kids growing up and seeing what they do with their lives and maybe one day having some grandbabies and stuff. So when I think about the future, I guess I'm getting old enough. I used to joke and say my retirement party and my funeral will be the same party. Right. I thought I would work until I die. Now that I'm a little bit older, I'm like, well, maybe I'll give myself some time in the end to enjoy life. So I don't know, but to continue to be flexible enough to adapt with markets, whatever they do, to continue to serve people in the best way possible, not only in real estate, but just serve people in general. I love to serve. And again, my family, to watch them grow and take advantage of all the experiences that they're going to have.
Hey, your grandkids will need houses, so
I know it's just keep creating clients. If I don't have anyone calling me from this podcast, I'm just going to create my own stream of.
Well, it's funny. I feel exactly the same way. It is so exciting. It's always exciting, but as your kids get older, just because their whole lives start to blossom, and I love watching it happen, and it is very exciting. I also am one who I do not plan on retiring. And you know what I found is it's people like us who love what we do. We have no reason to retire. People who hate what they do. I have friends who've retired because they hated what they did. Well, of course they retired. They didn't want to do it anymore. But I love what I do. You love what you do. So it's harder.
It is. I mean, I feel blessed in that respect that I don't really sit there and think of my days as to, oh gosh, I just can't wait to be done with this. Yeah.
Right.
No, I never really think that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've done it for a long time. You're very good at it. You know what you're doing. You know, it's a blessing for a client to work with somebody like you or to work with you because you really truly care about them well over your commission.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that that's your whole team is that way because the leader sets the pace for the team. And you,
Yeah, I have a really good team that a lot of tenured agents that, really take good care of their clients. But yeah, I mean, even though I say I don't do it for the dollar, I don't make a decision for the dollar. If you do all those things you love and you take care of people, it's a byproduct of that. You're going to get paid well for doing it because you're going to have a lot of people that want to work with you.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think that's, everybody knows, but that's not your driving factor, right? Your driving factor is you're taking care of you get the thrill by working with the client and taking care of them and helping them get what they want. The money comes.
Right.
And but there are people who only worry about the money and then it's a disaster.
They're part of the 80% that don't make it. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think it's one of the things I really want to promote on this show is the real estate agents in our community are phenomenal people like yourself who care about their clients, but you have a service mentality. You want what do they call that? A servant mentality. You will do things and you will serve. That's what you do. And that's what's important to you. And I think people need to know because I think it's kind of, I hate even to say it like a politician but nobody likes anybody else's politician, but they all love their own, right? And you talk to somebody, they all love, or maybe not all, but they love their real estate agent, but then they have a bad idea of what real estate agents are. And it's wrong here. Our agents, the vast majority of them are phenomenal people who should be respected and have a tremendous amount of value they can give to
and we need to respect each other, right? I mean, so if somebody sees Brad Baxter on the listing sheet when they're showing their buyer a house, I want them to say, oh, good, it's Brad's listing. I work with him. It's been good in the past. This would be a good transaction. Not saying that the transaction won't have some bumps or hiccups,
right? But
we'll get through it in a professional manner.
Right.
And so, I mean, I think we got to be, we're cooperating brokers, meaning we work together to accomplish the same goal.
Yeah. Well, how would somebody get a hold of you if they have any real estate needs, Brad?
They would call me at 317-501-3202.
Or it's bradbaxter.com.
Bradbaxter.com.
Right? Even I can remember that. Bradbaxter.com. That is easy. I would do rickripma.com and actually have it, but nobody can spell Ripma.
Okay, that's a problem.
That's a problem. So I used Hardworking Mortgage Guy. And nobody can spell mortgage. No, it is a problem. And if you need to get hold of Ian or I, it's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com or 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938. And please follow us on
in these real estate gurus. So you can subscribe and get notifications as soon as we put a new show and everything on there. Also, if you know any friends, family, or coworkers looking to buy, sell, or refinance, contact us at hardworkingmortgageguys.com. We'll be more than happy to help you.
Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day.
Branch NMLS number 33041. Rick Rippman's NMLS number 6645889. Ian Arnold's NMLS number is 1995469. Equal housing opportunity. Some restrictions apply.